Northern Song had an elaborate court style, and also after the fall of Tang Dynasty, the Royal Academy of Fine Arts system was somehow in turmoil, but Northern Song, they refurbished all of those governmental organizations, and one of them was re-establishing professional fine arts academy. So as I mentioned earlier, do you remember the court painter? What do court painters do? Well, we talked about court painters who make portraiture paintings or ceremonial paintings or auspicious paintings to decorate rooms in the palace. There are a lot of commissions. So they hired most talented people in their fine art academy. But in terms of their social class, they are usually below the literati scholars. Literati means they are Confucian scholars, learned men who can read and write and also memorize Confucian literature, and they usually become the government employees by passing the state exam. But court painters are more like craftsmen or technocrats. So if they don't know Confucian classics, it's okay as long as they have great artistic skills. They're more professional staff than the literati officers. Anyhow, so the division between literati painters, literati painters meaning they are amateurs, but they usually have their official positions and paint or write in their leisurely time. So literati painters, scholars, and then court painters, you are going to see some division between them. And because the people who can write about art criticism are usually literati, because they are writers, right, scholars. So in their treatises or in their journals, usually literati scholars boast of their own superiority or properness as a painter. So you are going to see a little bit of a hierarchical system. Who would paint better in terms of naturalistic skills? Of course, it's court painters, but they are going to say, and in terms of the spirit of the painting, or in terms of that character of this artwork, literati scholars show better tenets or like better philosophy. We will continue this type of aesthetic values. Anyhow, unusual person is this emperor Huizong. As you can see, he was one of the imperial family, but he was very good at painting. He made it popular to paint this type of court painting style work. So look at this roofed tile. It's one of his dreams. And in it, this is the palace where he lives. And then you see clouds, right? And above it, there are cranes flying, right? So it's a sign of auspicious news. Also, something good will happen. That's what he thought. But did something good happen? Unfortunately not. After his reign, Emperor Huizong's reign, in the Southern Song period, the Song dynasty collapsed. So, I mean, that's wishful thinking, but not the reality. But here, what I want to tell you is, Emperor Huizong, he understood both worlds of art creation really well, but he intentionally took side with professional painters' style, and he made this type of sort of a antiquarian painting style very popular. This one is showing the Southern Song period cultural awareness. So more and more Southern Song people were aware of the nomadic tribes in the north and their unusual lifestyle. So here, what do you see? Yes, like a tent housing, right? People are living in the tent. And these are called yurts, like a Mongolian yurts. And here you see Southern Song court to accentuate the differences between the material culture of the barbarians and the Chinese. So tents in the wilderness contrasted to Wenji's southern hometown. It's longer, and you are going to see that Hungarians live in this manner, and we Chinese people live in a different manner. And these are sort of a southern Song landscape. And then in Song Dynasty, literature became quite blossoming, and all the government officers were sophisticated scholars. And in them, these men, intellectual people, praised women's endurance and women's, how can I say, physiognomic features. Do you know the custom called bound feet in China? But the origin of bound feet starts among aristocratic ladies in the Song dynasty. So, for example, this is Huang Sheng's tomb, and the young wife of an imperial clansman. So, Huang Sheng was a woman of the, it's the name of the woman. And this tomb contained several pairs of shoes for bound feet, each measure 5 inches. Can you imagine how small that is? 5 inches. So it's almost like the size of what, 4-year-old child or something, right? So if you keep tying your foot as a child, it never grows long, and eventually during adulthood your bone structure is deformed. So it's like your size of fist, your feet. So in Song dynasty, women with bound feet are either aristocratic or imperial because they are not doing any labors or manual work. They have a servant or attendant, so it was possible. And then they were usually carried around on the back of their servants. And then let's see, Ming dynasty, it became somewhat encouraged, but then in the Qing dynasty, this custom of bound feet revived because Qing ruling class were Manchus, so the Han ethnic group took this custom of bound feet as a sort of loyal tradition, again, for their previous dynasties or previous imperial family. So toward the end of the Qing dynasty, finally, you are going to see even farmers' wives want to have a bound feet. But you can imagine how impractical that is, right? Aristocratic women, you can understand because they are not doing any work. But farmers' wives, do you think you can walk the street with this like a fist-size foot? Anyhow, we will continue to talk about it, but during the Song dynasty, people established a lot of important, long-lasting customs in art, like landscape art, landscape painting, and also in other governmental organizations. We are going to continue this monumental landscape in the next slide.